Hey everybody, B Temple here again. Finally getting back to you guys to do another ration review. It's been quite some time since I've done a review. It's been probably 2 months or so, I guess. It's been a busy few months, work and family and all that kind of stuff that comes up. But it's summer holidays now, so a little bit extra free time. So finally getting around to do another review. Thought I'd do this one today. It's a little bit special. It is a Russian IRP, or individual ration pack. It's, I guess, what you would call the standard Russian Army IRP. You can tell that by the fact that it's this sort of waxed kind of cardboard, and it's the green tan color with the star. You can also find some of these in a sort of a camouflage kind of packaging, and it's more of like a plastic outer film, and that's more of it's not quite a civilian version of it, but it's meant more for like internal police and things like that. This is actually the official Russian Army military ration. As you can see, the outside of it, not a whole lot to it. It's all, of course, in Cyrillic, and I don't read Cyrillic, but we'll do the best we can with it all. As you can see here, it's menu number 5, and from the translating I've been able to figure out, of course, this is menu 5 here. This particular menu has 4,707 calories, which would make it the most calorie dense of any of the Russian IRPs. We have here protein content, fat content, and carbohydrate content. So this one here, we've got 112 grams of protein, 293.8 grams of fat. So, of course, once again, that's the highest level there as well. And we've got 405, almost 406 grams of carbohydrates, which is almost the highest for that as well. Main reason why I picked to do this one today, of course, is that this particular ration was manufactured or packaged on the 29th day of August 2015, and it expired on the 29th day of June 2017, and today is actually July the 4th. So it's 6 days past expire. I thought it'd be interesting to sort of see how these things fare over time. If the expiry date is kind of more like a guideline for maybe just some of the items, or if I'm going to get into this and half of it's going to be gone bad, and I'm gonna try to eat these things well before their expiry date comes. So yeah, just gonna dig into this now, I suppose, see all the items, lay it all out, and then we'll I guess do one meal. We're gonna break this video down into 2 parts, so we'll do the unboxing and one meal for this video, and then we'll do the other 2 meals for the next video that we do whenever I get the chance to do it. So, I'm gonna open this thing up now. It's a very sort of heavy, hefty cardboard box. When I first opened this, it spilled sugar everywhere. You can still see some of the individual granules of sugar. So usually these come with 3 packets of sugar, 3 20-gram packets. One of them had split open and had sort of spilled its contents everywhere in the inside of the box. So yeah, so we've only got 2 packs of sugar. So that's going to be okay. I don't usually add sugar to drinks. First, we have, aside from the sugar, we have this apple jelly, or apple butter, or apple jam, whatever you want to sort of call it, but it's usually considered to be an apple butter. So that'll go on crackers, something like that. Next, we've got 3 spoons. We have a small chocolate bar, just 30 grams. And this is sort of translates to officer's chocolate, something along those lines. And we've got 2 packs of, I guess, whole wheat crackers is the best way to describe them. And they're in pretty good shape, considering you know, it's 2 years old and it came all the way from Russia. And then we've also got 2 packs of, I guess, regular sort of white wheat crackers. These ones seem to have fared a little better when it comes to their condition. So usually what I hear is that if something's going to go bad or go stale in these rations, quickly it'll end up being the packs of crackers. So that'll be the first thing we'll try to see how good this thing actually is. Now, moving into more of the other food items, we have this here, which translates to sort of cream cheese, something like that. So just some sort of processed cheese sort of product. We'll see how similar this is to, say, USMRE cheese. And then we have this one, the label's kind of falling off of it. But this one loosely translates to sort of vegetable caviar or caviar of zucchini. This the word here is Russian for zucchini. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce or any of that kind of stuff because I'll just butcher it, and you guys don't need to hear that. Next, we have appears to be some sort of pate. I'm not quite sure if it's beef or pork or anything like that, but it's a some sort of luncheon meat. Then we've also got this one here, which seems to have a different consistency according to the picture. Maybe it's more of a liver pate as opposed to just sort of a more standard kind of, you know, other form of meat. We've also got a multivitamin tablet. Got a pack of Stimorol gum. It's one of the only few things in here that actually has English on it. And this is sort of a grape mint sort of mix flavor. Got ourselves a little 1 gram packet of black pepper. And this is what we have that's probably the most interesting item in this ration. This translates to salty pork. And if any of you, of course, have seen other videos of these Russian rations, you find this one from time to time. What this basically is just a slab or chunks of just pork fat. Here where I'm from, we'd call it fatback pork. It's used a lot, actually, in sort of traditional cooking. Usually you cut it up into chunks and put it into a frying pan, you render it down, and the sort of skin and meaty section of the pork that's left around sort of sticks and gets hard, and we call it scrunchions. I guess some other parts of the world probably would call it cracklins or anything like that, but we'd call it scrunchions here, and then the rest of it would just be the rendered sort of clarified oil, and you'd use that to put on, you know, various foods you're cooking. The main one here would be something we call fish and brews. You'd put it over it, which is basically hardtack that's been soaked for a while, and then salted codfish and potatoes. Sometimes you throw some fried onions in there, things like that, and you put the clarified oil over it. It's actually pretty good. But of course, this is just I suppose meant to be a very high caloric, high fat sort of item that a soldier would need. I would think it would be probably a very good thing to have, and if you're in a sort of Arctic situation, things like that. So I don't know if we're going to actually eat this as it is, but we'll give it a look at some point. Next, we've got basically, I assume this is some sort of apple puree, applesauce, that kind of thing. If you know, the picture would lead me to believe that's what it is. Got ourselves just a little packet of matches and a striker. Got ourselves a little folding stove and 3 fuel tablets. Thankfully, this hasn't split open. You get that sort of horrible, fishy, rancid kind of smell that comes along with these tablets, so that's a good thing. We've got 3 sort of moist towelettes, antibacterial wipes. We've got a little sachet of coffee creamer. And we do have 1 packet of coffee, instant coffee. And we've got 2 think it's called Royal Crown. I believe is what it translates to. 2 tea bags. And we've got just a couple very thin napkins. And we've got some drink mixes. We have, I guess, sort of, beverage-based powders, that kind of thing. I'm going to assume this one is a cherry. This one would be a raspberry. And this one would be, I would assume, either peach or apricot. Something like that. Probably peach. I guess we'll figure that out. And we also have just a few other little minor things. Got a packet of salt. A water purification tablet. Just a sort of menu list. What the individual weights of the items are. We got ourselves another water purification tab. And we've got our mains. So at least this one has a picture on it, which makes it a little bit easier to figure out. This loosely translates to beef and potatoes, something along those lines. As you can see, it's beef. And there's your potatoes. So yeah, that one should be pretty good. And then we've got these remaining two. This one, as close as I can get. This, I know for sure this is rice, something like that, so rice. And this is rice with chicken and vegetables. So no picture or anything, but that's apparently what it is. And the last one we have here is I've gotten 2 different translations for this. It's either just beef stew, or I think it's called like beef first class. So I don't know exactly what it's supposed to be, but even just sort of translating the ingredients, it looks like it's just got beef, beef fat, pepper, salt, bay leaf, things like that. So it's probably, as you've seen from other Russian rations, it's probably just like a actual just solid piece of beef in fat, and that should be pretty good. So interestingly enough, this one doesn't have the beloved Russian kasha meal, but it's a nice collection of stuff here, and it should be enjoyable. Last few little sort of things sticking around here. We have a third water purification tablet. We've got another little information card here, which I think probably talks about when particular items were manufactured, I suppose. And lastly, we've got a very, very flimsy, thin knife to go along with our 3 spoons. And then we've just got our empty cardboard box, which still has a lot of what looks like cracker crumbs and sugar crystals in it. So we're going to figure out exactly what we're going to do to break these down into 3 meals, and then we're going to come back and lay it all onto a tray and have our first meal. So be back in a second. All right, guys. So we've got the first meal that we're going to have to go along with our Russian ration, the IRP menu number 5, laid out for you right here. So we're going to go through a packet of the whole wheat crackers. We're going to try out the cream cheese. We're going to try out the apple butter. We're going to mix up a raspberry beverage-based powder. We're going to try out the chocolate bar and the rice with chicken and vegetables. And we're also going to go through some, at the end, I guess, stim roll gum, and we've got some salt and pepper just in case. So, first of all, we're going to just open this up and get this prepared. At least get this ready, heated up. Probably just going to put it in a pot with some boiling water for a little while, and let it heat up that way. Let's just crack it open just a little bit first to have a look. So as we can see, it's, rice. I don't want to pull this off too hard and then have everything go everywhere. So yeah, it's a very, very densely packed rice. Not really picking up a whole lot of veggies or chicken within it. Maybe that might be a little tiny bit of carrot right there in the corner, perhaps. But yeah, we'll go get this heated up first, and while that's heating, we'll take a run around the table and get everything else ready. So, be back in a second. All right, so while that's heating up, let's first of all get the drink mix ready. So, of course, like I said, I don't know how to read Cyrillic or anything like that. I'm not going to attempt to do a whole lot of it, but I would assume this here means we have to mix it with 200 milliliters of water, and that it's a 100 gram packet. And then I would be left to assume that in all the rest that we see here would be the ingredients, the individual vitamins and minerals that are within the drink packet, and then I guess how much of each one there is, sort of in grams or milligrams or something like that. So yeah, let's get this mixed up first. It's this sort of very large crystals. It's got a pinkish kind of hue to it. Just pour the water in now and get that ready. It's probably a little bit more water than the thing calls for, but that's alright. We'll just give it a nice stir now. From what I've seen from other reviews, it takes a little while for the sugar crystals to completely dissolve in these drinks, especially if you're using cold water. So we'll give it our initial stir, and then we'll let it sit for a little while. Alright, so next we're going to open up our packet of crackers. So as you can see, these are just your sort of standard whole wheat cracker. Don't seem overly dense. Fairly easy to break. They've got just your sort of standard whole wheat kind of smell to them. Let's just try with this piece here on its own first to sort of see how they've fared over time. And yeah, those are not too bad actually. It's maybe starting to just barely get a little stale, but it's not that big of a deal so far. It's got a nice bran, you know, whole wheat kind of flavor to it. Should be pretty good actually when we get to the apple jelly or apple jam, apple butter, and the cream cheese or cheese spread. So first, yeah, let's just tear into this apple butter and see if it's still any good. The package seems a little, it's like a little bit under pressure, which is a little disconcerting. Usually you don't like to see this kind of thing, sort of contents like this when it comes to rations under pressure, but we'll give it a little try and just see if this hasn't gone completely bad. Let's see if we find an area where this will actually tear sensibly. There we go. Get our spoon out and just try a little bit of this on its own just first, just to see. As you can see, it's just a sort of brown paste, jelly, that kind of thing. Let's just try it out first. It's yeah, I don't know how to describe that. I don't know if it just doesn't go well on its own, or it's actually gone bad, and that's the reason why it's puffed out like that. But let's just try a little tiny bit on a cracker, just for argument's sake, and then we can make the final verdict. Yeah, that's not good. That does not taste very good at all. It tastes somehow even worse with the whole wheat cracker. So this is one of the components in the ration that has obviously not stood the test of time. I should have known better, I suppose, with it being puffed out like that. Now I'm a little tiny bit worried that maybe I might get sick later, but I guess we'll see how it all goes. Next, we're just going to open up our cheese spread, see how this looks. Of course, this doesn't want to cooperate at all. There we go. Now we've got this sort of weird kind of, I'm going to assume it's just fat separation, I suppose. But hopefully this is actually still good. Let me just give it a little sniff. Smells perfectly fine. Smells an awful lot like sort of Cheese Whiz, you know, Velveeta, something like that. Let's try a little bit with one of the crackers. It's not particularly dense. It's easy to cut through with the cracker, and it doesn't, you know, break apart. So yeah, that's actually really good. It does taste an awful lot like a mix of Cheese Whiz and maybe MRE cheese spread. It's got that kind of flavor to it. All right, so we're still waiting for the main to finish heating up. Next, we'll open up our chocolate bar, see how this is fared. Hopefully, it hasn't started to bloom in any way, but I guess we'll find that out. So, as we can see, it has, you know, started to bloom somewhat, but it is just a standard dark chocolate, so it shouldn't actually be that bad. Let's break off a section of it just to see what, I guess, the interior of the chocolate looks like. So yeah, it looks perfectly fine. Let's give it a little taste, see how it seems. So yeah, it's an incredibly sort of crumbly, I guess is the best way to put it, dark chocolate. It's not too sweet, but it's not too bitter either. It's got a nice combination of both, and yeah, it's really pleasing actually. I'm quite surprised by that. I do hear good things about this particular chocolate, so yeah, it's actually lives up to the hype, I guess is the best way to put it. So yeah, we don't really have a whole lot left, I suppose, aside from just waiting for the main to finally be finished. But let's give our drink another stir, maybe cleanse the palate a little bit, and see how this raspberry drink tastes. See if it actually has a semblance of tasting like raspberry. So you see it's still taking on this kind of faint pinkish kind of hue. That's fantastic. That's it's not a strong raspberry flavor by, you know, any stretch of the imagination. It certainly doesn't stack up with something like a UK ORP raspberry drink, but it's, how shall we say, an entirely serviceable raspberry drink. Not too sweet. Doesn't sort of, you know, hit you over the head with how sweet it is. You know, it's not sickly in any way, shape, or form. I don't know. I'm sure I probably put more water in there than 200 mils, but I don't think it's that much more than that. But who knows? So yeah, it's a really good drink. I'm quite surprised by it. So here we go, guys. We've got the main brought back. It still looks incredibly dense. So I don't know if I just haven't cooked it long enough, or if I just didn't use the proper method to cook it, or maybe I should have taken it out of the package and put it in some sort of other vessel to eat it in. But you know, this is what it is. So remember, this is the rice with chicken and vegetables, apparently. So we're going to tear the rest of the top off. This is incredibly hot, seeing it was sitting in boiling water. And as you can see, the spoon doesn't quite want to go through it very easily. Let's just sort of dump this out onto the tray without making too much of a mess. So yeah, that doesn't seem like the most appetizing thing in the world, but sort of break this apart. Like a lot of the rice that you see in many military rations, it's incredibly dense, comes out in this sort of big block. And I don't know, that's just because I haven't cooked it enough, or that's just the nature of it. But break it up a little bit more. Now, as we can see, or as we cannot see perhaps, there's not a whole lot to this aside from the rice. When they say chicken and vegetables, they must literally mean the vegetables are these little tiny specks of carrot. And when it comes to individual chicken that's actually discernible, not really seeing much of it. There's sort of a general sort of chicken smell wafting from this, but not really seeing any huge sort of identifiable pieces of chicken. I don't know if the camera can pick that out, but no, not really. Anyway, enough poking around with this. I guess we should at least give this a try, see how it actually tastes. So yeah, that's actually, considering how it looks, that's actually not bad at all. It's got a strong sort of chicken bouillon kind of flavor to it. Almost like they just sort of put chicken noodle soup kind of flavoring in this. Of course, you don't really pick up at all on the vegetables themselves. You can barely see them. They are present, but the taste of them isn't particularly present. You may not look it, but it has cooked fairly well. I think this is just the nature of how it's packed. It's incredibly dense. It's not going to easily come apart. It doesn't taste like it's gone bad in any way, shape, or form. Like, it would be nice to see a bit more chicken in it, to see this actual chicken. I don't know if you can pick that out, but maybe that might be chicken in there. Perhaps. Who knows? So yeah, this is not bad, actually. Be interested, of course, to see how the other mains stack up later on when we do the next part of the video. You don't often see chicken entrees in these rations. It's usually some sort of beef sort of variation with kasha or potatoes or beans or veggies or something along those lines. So, you know, to find something with chicken, it's actually a little bit different. Okay, so I'm not going to have any more than that for now. I'm going to, after this is over, of course, sit down and eat the rest of this. Not that I will not be ingesting any more of that apple butter, because, yeah, that's just not good at all. That, I hope that's not how it always tastes. I always hear good things about it. So everyone always raves about how awesome it is. So I'm gonna assume it's gone bad. That's the best way to put it. So, lastly, first of all, actually, just to sort of, for the hell of it, let's throw a bit of pepper and salt on there just to see if that makes any difference whatsoever. I'm someone who likes pepper, and I now realize that 1 gram of pepper is actually an absolute pile of pepper. So we'll just fold that back up after and use some more of it for the next part of the video. And I'm just spilling salt everywhere, of course. So yeah, let's give this piece right here a try now. See what the salt and the pepper has done. Oh yeah, that's really brought it to life. That's amazing. I'm usually not someone who would put salt on anything. Usually it's, you know, whatever it is. But yeah, that extra little bit of salt and that black pepper added on there, that's really taking this up. I'm really surprised by this now. Yeah, that's really tasty. I'm very pleasantly surprised by that. So lastly, guys, I'll just pop open our pack of Stimmerol gum and just see if it does actually have some sort of grape type flavor, which it purports to have as by the picture on the front. So it's just, you know, like sort of standard gum, these little briquettes. Yeah, there you go. Exactly as advertised. It's a nice mix, actually, of a grape flavor. It's not quite, I guess, natural grape flavor, but it's not as artificial as you would normally get for a grape flavored item of some kind, either a drink or candy or whatever it is. It sort of skirts that middle ground between natural and artificial. So it's actually not that bad. And there is a little bit of mint in the background as well. So it's an interesting combination. I've never had something like this before. So it's actually kind of pleasant. So yeah, guys, this has been the unboxing, I guess, and first meal of our menu number 5, Russian IRP. Expired 6 days ago. So for the most part, this has fared pretty well, except for one glaring item, and that's the apple butter, which I truly believe has gone bad and gone quite bad. So I wouldn't want to eat any more of that because I don't really want to get sick. I'm not real keen on food poisoning. So guys, thanks for stopping by, and I'll try to get the second part of the ration review out to you as quick as I can. Alright, have a good one. Thanks.